Have you ever considered a business flipping houses, either as a side hustle or maybe even as your full-time gig? Well, if you have, you might be surprised to learn that the key to that business isn't knowing how to swing a hammer, use a saw, or do all of the work on the property, although you could do that some yourself if you'd like. The key is actually understanding business systems, raising money, and putting all of that together. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, and we're getting started right now. Welcome to Coach Carson TV. My name is Chad Carson. You can also call me Coach. I'm the author of the book Retire Early with Real Estate, published by Bigger Pockets. And this channel is all about investing in real estate, achieving financial independence, and doing more of what matters. I have brand new videos that come out every Friday morning. So if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss anything. In just a moment, I'm going to take you to a clip from an interview with Jay Scott, who wrote the book on flipping houses published by Bigger Pockets. But when Jay first started his business of flipping houses, he didn't know anything about fixing up houses. He admits that he didn't know what the systems were. He didn't know how to fix anything himself, but he did know about business and how to put systems together. And so in this interview, he talks about how his approach was to starting the business and how you can replicate that to both start maybe a side hustle, or even if you want to scale it and make it a big flipping business that makes a lot of money. So let's go take a listen to Jay. And if you like this topic, be sure to hit the like button, the thumbs up, to help us spread the word on YouTube. So I want to go back to those first three flips that y'all bought at one time. That was really interesting that you did them all together. And it seems like, you and Carol have this good kind of team combo where she's really, helping you with the vision for the properties and buying materials and doing a lot of things. I'm wondering too, though, it seems like from reading your books and looking at how you attack this problem, going back to your engineering background, like how did you apply that to this new business? And this is a flipping business. This could really apply to any business, yep. Though. How did you attack the problem of, all right, 6 to 12 months from now, I have to accomplish something. I have to make a salary. I got to build my own business. And then how do you break this thing down called a business into manageable pieces that you can actually move forward on?
Yeah, and that's really the challenge. And let me tell you something. I'd love to say that like day one, I go in and by the end of the first month, like I've got this $1 billion business, but it didn't work that way. It took a couple of years. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what I realized was, and this was an important recognition for me, is I'm not a real estate guy. I don't know how to swing a hammer. I don't know how to do renovations. You don't want me in there, even doing demo. I remember the first time I walked into a house and I thought, okay, I can take a hammer and I can start like demoing stuff. And I remember punching through a wall and my wife looked at me and she said, how did you know there wasn't a stud there? Like, because I did it with my hand just because I thought it'd be fun. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, there's wood in these walls every 16 inches or so. I was like, oh yeah, wow. I'm glad I didn't hit a stud. I probably would have broken my hand. I had no idea what I was doing. So early on, it made me realize that if I wanted to be successful in this business, I had to treat it like a business and I had to do what I was good at. And what I'm good at is building teams and managing teams and treating businesses like businesses. I'm not good at swinging the hammer. I'm not good at the electrical work or the plumbing work or any of that. I'm not even good at the day-to-day management of the contractors or picking materials. So I knew I had to bring in people that were really good at all of those things. And my job was to find the good deals, to analyze them, to figure out how to keep things on schedule, to keep things on budget, to maximize the profits, to know the numbers inside and out, because that's what I'm good at. So from day one, that's kind of what I was focused on. And when I started thinking about the business, I thought, okay, let's say because one day I want my business to be like a Microsoft or a Google or a GM, whatever big company it is. So if I were going to start a business like that, what would I do first? And I thought, okay, well, when I worked at Microsoft, I would walk into the office every day and there'd be a team over here that was focused on product development. There'd be a team over here that was doing software development. There would be a team over here that was doing documentation, and a marketing team and a sales team and a QA team, and an executive management team, and all these different teams. And every team had a very specific function. The guy in the marketing team wasn't writing software before lunch and marketing after lunch. He was focused on marketing. Everybody in that group was focused on marketing. And their job was to get marketing right, to figure out the systems and the processes for marketing that product or those products perfectly. And then the person that was writing software, their job was to be the best software developer there was. They weren't doing sales in the morning and software development in the afternoon. No, they were focused on it. So I said, if I'm going to build a flipping business, what are those right let's call them departments. What are those right segments of my business that I need to be focused on, where I have people doing this and people doing this and this and this. And so I actually sat down with a friend of mine that was really good at building businesses back then. And I said, okay, I'm trying to do this real estate thing, and I want to segment the business into departments like a big business would, but it's real estate. I don't know anything about real estate. How do I figure out what those departments are? Like, do I just guess and see what works? And he said, well, this is how I would do it. I would sit down, and you've already, at this point, I'd already flipped 1 or 2 houses. He said, you probably have a to-do list. I was like, absolutely. I have hundreds of things on my to-do list. He said, group those things in your to-do list. Figure out the common themes on the stuff in your to-do list. Take sticky notes and write on each sticky note one thing on your to-do list, and then walk up to the wall and kind of start organizing your tasks into groups. And I was like, that's a really good idea. So I went through literally hundreds of to-do list items, hundreds of sticky notes, wrote them down, and then just start organizing them on the wall. And at the end of that project, what I realized was every single one of those to-do items, every single one of those sticky notes fit into one of 4 categories. Without fail, one of 4 categories. They were either acquisition tasks, so things required to find properties and to buy properties. They were the renovation tasks, so basically from the day I buy the property to the day that it's ready to sell. So it's tasks in that area. It was a sales and marketing task. So basically from the day it's ready to sell to the day we actually get it closed and sold. Or it was a fundraising task, figuring out how I was actually going to pay for all of this. Those were the 4 groups: acquisition, rehab, sales and marketing, and fundraising. Every single thing that I did day in and day out on my real estate business fell into one of those 4 groups. So from that moment on, I realized, okay, these are the 4 departments or segments of my company. I'm going to have somebody that's focused on acquisition, somebody that's focused on rehab, somebody that's focused on sales and marketing, somebody that's focused on fundraising. Now, at this point, it was just my wife and myself. So I was like, okay, well, there's 2 of us and 4 tasks. She'll take 2, I'll take 2. Ended up working out well. She was really good at the acquisitions piece, finding deals and negotiating deals. She was really good at the sales and marketing, the staging and the getting the pictures and the listings and negotiating, getting things sold. I was good at the figuring out the rehab piece, or hiring a project manager who could figure out the rehab piece. And I was good at the fundraising. So she took those 2, I took my 2. And then I said, okay, what's the next thing we do? Well, what does a big business do? They document processes. They figure out how they need to do the things that they do. They figure out an efficient way to do it. And then they document it so that everybody in the business knows what they're doing. I said, okay, we can do that too. Let's start creating checklists. Create checklists for the acquisition, create checklists for the hiring and the managing of the rehab, the scheduling and the budgeting, create spreadsheets, create checklists and documents for how to do the sales and marketing, create checklists for how to do the fundraising. And so we started documenting everything. And then I said, okay, what's the next thing a business does? And I didn't really go this methodically. I was kind of doing this all at once. But I said, what's another thing that a big business does? Well, they delegate and they outsource. Like, my wife and I can't do all these things myself. So I thought, okay, real estate business, who can I delegate and outsource to? Well, here are my options. Contractors, so 1099 employees, part-time employees, full-time employees, VAs, or partners. Those are basically my 5 groups of people that can help me with things. So I said, okay, for certain tasks, what am I going to bring in contractors for? Because those are the easiest typically to do. You don't have to put them on payroll. You don't have to pay workers' comp. You don't have to do all this complicated stuff. So what can I put contractors on? What can I put VAs on? Like, VAs ended up being an important part of our business. I would spend literally hours on the phone in Atlanta talking to utility companies. I'd call up to turn on the power at a property, and they'd be like, you are number 74 in line. 2 hours
spiral,
later.
the voicemail of death, or
exactly.
Oh, gosh.
So getting VAs that could actually sit on the phone for me to turn on utilities or deal with taxes or write checks. Yeah. Then where can I bring in part-time employees? Where can I bring in full-time employees? Where can I bring in partners? But starting to delegate and figuring out basically how I can start offloading. And once you have documentation and you have departments in your business, it's easy to delegate, because you can bring somebody in and say, hey, you're my project manager. You're focused on this department, which is everything that has to do with rehab. And here's all the documents and checklists and spreadsheets you're going to use to do your job. And so between the segments of the business, or the departments of the business, the documentation of what we were doing in each of those segments, and then the bringing in the people to help, that allowed me to kind of grow and scale my business in a way that felt like a real business. And so from that day, from day one, I said, I'm going to put my business skills to use because, again, I'm not the guy that should be swinging a hammer. And that's how we grow our business.
Yeah, I can totally relate to everything. That's such good advice. And I had a similar experience. It was not the exact same, but I was starting right out of college buying properties. I was more on the finding deal side of things, but I also had no experience and I had no skill set, and I would have done the same thing, punching through a sheetrock wall and not knowing what's behind it. Yeah. But in some ways, it's kind of funny. I think that was both of our advantage because we had to look at the whole problem of this business as a newbie, as a fresh set of problems. I think some of the people I talked to who are really good at rehabbing, or they're a real estate agent and they've been doing this their whole life, that there's a little bit of baggage there because sometimes it's hard to see those four pieces of the business. And I remember doing I was lucky that the very first book my business partner and I, somebody recommended we read as brand newbie 23-year-old, was the EMyth. And the EMyth was exactly what you're saying. Was that, that the myth of entrepreneurship is that people are actually entrepreneurs, that they're really not. They're just technicians who are working in their business, swinging a hammer, doing all these things. And yet they are actually a business owner, and they're abdicating their responsibility to be the business owner, working on their business, of building those systems, building those checklists, looking at it from a higher level. And when you do, I think you're the perfect example. That's when you can either scale, which y'all have now sold hundreds of properties at this point, bought and sold, or even if you've kind of gone the route that I've eventually did. I started scaling, and then I said, you know what, I just want to take some time off for a year and a half. It was the exact same process, is that I had to put checklists, I had to delegate, I had to figure out which things can I do, only I can do, which things can I delegate, who am I going to delegate to. And when you hand a bookkeeper a checklist saying, here's how we do bookkeeping, and then you train them on that, that is such a different process than saying, hey, bookkeeper, can you bail me out? Here's my shoebox full of things, and can you just solve this for me? Like, it's a completely different mindset as a business owner versus a technician who's just doing everything yourself.
Yeah, you said it perfectly. And it's the biggest mistake that I see new investors and new people in every business make, is that they don't think about the business. They think about, what am I good at? And they decide on what tasks they're going to work on their business based on what they're good at. Okay, I know plumbing, so I guess I'll do my own plumbing. Or I'm a real estate agent. Okay, I'm going to buy and sell my own houses. But that's not what you should be focused on. You should be focused. You go into business yourself, whether it's real estate or any other business, to make money, or most of us do. And so you should be focusing on those things that make you the most money. When I left the corporate world, when my wife and I left the corporate world, we were making $100 or $200 an hour in our jobs. We were making a lot of money. If I go into real estate and I start painting my own houses, well, what am I making painting my own houses? Well, if I can hire somebody for 15 or 20 bucks an hour to be painting, basically I'm making 15 or 20 bucks an hour every hour that I'm painting that house. I didn't leave $100 or $200 an hour job to make 10 or 15 or $20 an hour. I want to make 100 or 200 or 500 or $1,000 an hour. So you need to ask yourself the question, what are those tasks in your business that generate 50 or 100 or 200 or $500 an hour? And it's not the plumbing, it's not the listing your own houses, it's not the painting your own houses, it's not the walking the aisles at Home Depot. The things that make me hundreds of or thousands of dollars in my business are, one, raising money. Nobody else in my business can raise money like I can. And for every dollar I raise, I'm going to make many, many dollars on top of that. Two, negotiating. So my wife can literally make thousands of dollars in 10 minutes by negotiating herself. We can save thousands of dollars. We can negotiate more on sales. So negotiating is something we do ourselves. Finding properties and acquisitions, not necessarily going out and finding them, but vetting every deal. Every time a deal comes across our desk, I like to be the one that runs those numbers the final time to say, yeah, we're going to do this or not do this. Because at the end of the day, if a deal makes money, I make money. If a deal loses money, I lose money. So that's something that literally the difference between going with a good deal versus a bad deal is going to make me literally thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. So these are the things I focus on. I focus on the raising money. I focus on running the numbers and the quality of assurance, because quality is something that's going to make or break thousands of dollars an hour. And I focus on the negotiation. Those are the things that make me the hundreds and thousands of dollars an hour. Everything else I hire out.
If you like this video about flipping houses, I think you'll like my next set of videos, which is a vlog about a 100-year-old triplex that we remodeled, and it shows you behind the scenes, shows you the good, and then a lot of bad as well, some mistakes I made, but you'll get to see what it's actually like to remodel a really old property. So check that out, the link is below. And if you like this channel, we have new videos that come out every Friday, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you don't miss anything. My name is Chad Carson. You can call me Coach, and this is a channel all about investing in real estate, achieving financial independence, and doing more of what matters. See you next time.